Thank you so much, Trishna. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, congratulations to the Women Techmakers Jalandhar community for completing 6 years. It is not a small milestone in any way. So, thank you for being organizers, speakers, volunteers, participants across community events in the 6 years. Um, I'm Lakshya. I lead the Women Techmakers program, and here I'm here to share with you about my insights about leading with courage. I have been doing this for about 3.5 years now, and here are a few tidbits that I have learned around along the way, and I thought it will be a great thing to share with you. But before that, let me tell you that this session is going to be a dialogue. We I would have loved to do this in person, but there will be a lot of activities which is more of self-reflection activities. So find a pen and paper near you and do these activities because I'm sure it will help you reflect on who you are and what you want to achieve. I also wanted to call out leading or leadership is not just about leading people, it's also about leading yourself, leading within, looking inward, and seeing how can you be a better version of yourself. So, with that context, I'm super excited to start my talk. But before that, I have a small video for all of you from my teammates based out of San Francisco on giving you out a message.
Wow, 6 years. Congratulations, Women Techmakers Jalandhar, on building an amazing community. And huge shout out to the leaders for creating the space where women can join, thrive, and lead in tech. I hope we can celebrate together soon. But until then, keep doing the amazing
Hello, Women Tech Makers Chapter. Congratulations on 6 years. I'm Caitlin, and I work in San Francisco, and just want to all so much for the dedication and hard work that you put into this program. I know that this is take some time to celebrate this massive milestone and on the past 6 years. So thank you for everything that you do, and sending lots of love and good wishes.
Great. That were a few teammates. So again, it's my pleasure to congratulate the entire Women Techmakers Jalandhar community. Before we move ahead, I have a few questions for you. And I've taken examples of a few women whom I believe are extremely courageous and whom I derive a lot of inspiration from. So let me just see if you know them. And if any of you can also relate to them being great leaders, courageous leaders, them being inspiration, feel free to drop comments on the chat, and I'm following that. So who is this? I would love to hear you comment with through your comments. Feel free to use the YouTube chat window. This is an easy one. She's the chairperson of the Infosys Foundation, for those who don't know. But I'm looking for a name in the chat box. Yes, yes. I see a lot of you saying yes, it is Sudhamurthy. Right? I believe that she is a very courageous leader. Her struggle and her story of even before Infosys, I mean, the kind of things that she has done to put her foot down for herself is amazing. Over to the next one. Do you know who this is? I'll wait for a couple of minutes to hear from you. But she is again an amazing leader who is who's so eloquent, so graceful, yet so powerful and so courageous. Um, I'm waiting for answers. Yes, it is the New Zealand Prime Minister. Let me see. Let me wait for a couple of more seconds to see if I get the name. What's the name? Okay. She is Jacinda Ardern. Yes, you were right. It is the Prime Minister of New Zealand. And if you hear a few of her speeches, she's like extremely amazing. Up next, this one's easy. Who's this? I remember watching a show, one of her shows on Netflix, and I mean, it was so inspiring. The way she has traveled the world, the way she recollects stories and gives out stories of people all over the globe. She empathizes with them. Really, really inspirational woman. Yes, that's right. A few of you are super fast. Yes, that is Melinda Gates. Read, I mean, she's written this beautiful book, talking about hope, talking about, what you can do with courage, right? So, I mean, and that's precisely the motive of this talk as well. Last but not the least, a very easy one. I'm sure a lot of men and women have taken inspiration from her, have read her books. She's an amazing storyteller, amazing writer, and above all, an amazing, courageous leader. And few of the stories, if you've read Lean In, talks precisely about these characteristics of leadership, of compassion, courage, resilience. So yes, I'm waiting to hear from you before I move forward. Yes, yes. This is probably an easy one. Sheryl Sandberg. Next up, let me see if I can answer this. Do you think you are courageous enough? Do you see yourself? The picture there is, do you see the magnanimous personality that you are within? And do you consider yourself a leader? If yes, great. I'm so proud of you. If not, through this talk, I would like to give you some inspiration on how each of us can lead ourselves better. And what comes out of us, in positive mindset is a completely new level of us. So yes, we're talking about courage, but before that, I want to ask you. There's a beautiful quote by Maya Angelou which says, "Without courage, we cannot practice any other virtue with consistency. We can't be kind, true, merciful, generous, or honest." I want to ask you, do you know the difference between courage and confidence? I know we all, always say that we want to be more confident, but I feel that not very often do we say I want to be courageous, right? Any thoughts on what is the difference between courage and confidence? And there is no right answer or wrong answer, because it each of these words are very subjective, and what it means from person to person might be very different. But there's one thing that's very common and very very small part of these words. I'll wait for a couple of seconds to hear from you, and I will go about and share my thoughts on what I think is the difference between courage and confidence. This might be tougher than guessing names. Yes. Yes. Courage is I want to do this at any cost, but confidence is I can do this. Courage is having confidence in adverse situations. Okay. Courage to start and confidence to keep it up. Exactly. I think that's what I was looking for. A very common point is confidence usually comes with time. When you've mastered something, when you've kept doing something again and again, you get more confident about it because you know it's in the known space, right? But courage is something that you need when you're doing something for the first time. It is that inner voice that helps you propel forward. So here, while having confidence is equally important, but the first step to start any task would be the courage, right? So and there is a beautiful quote which I read a few days back, which is by Brownie Ware, who says that I have the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life that others expected of me. And very often we all do this, right? We all try to live the life that others want us to, because we want that sense of recognition, that sense of, okay, you're doing great. But few years down the lane, we often, sit back, think, and say, maybe, and there is a sense of regret, right? You might say, oh, maybe I should have taken that decision because I really wanted to do that. So, having passion is one, but also standing up takes a lot of courage. And what I'm going to do in probably the next 30 minutes is run you through a mindful approach to building courage. This means that each phase is something that we need to look internally, we need to reflect. I have a couple of activities for you which you can do by yourself at your home, just to reflect and understand more about yourself as a person. So, we're going to talk about awareness, acceptance, curiosity, compassion, and mindful action, because each of these elements are so crucial to being and building courage. We'll go one by one, starting off with awareness. I have a 30 seconds activity for you. If you can pick up your papers and pencils and do this activity with me, right? I want you to take 30 seconds or even more if you can to draw your portrait. Can we do this together, please? We might be great artists, we might not be great artists, but let's make an attempt to draw a great portrait. I'm going to be giving a couple of minutes for this one because there's something that I want you to observe, and I'll tell you what in 30 seconds. Yeah. Yeah, it is tough, but I'm sure we can do this. And we would love to see if you can also tweet it, tweet about your portrait if you're comfortable with it, tagging GDG and WTM Jalandhar. And we'd love to see what comes out and, what great artists we are. These days, you also have a lot of automatic sketch portrait makers and sketchers. No, I don't want you to use those softwares. I want you to do this with paper and pen, paper and pencil yourself. Okay, so while you tweet it off, I want to ask you, how does the mind respond, when we are placed outside the comfort zone? I heard a few people in the chat saying, hey, it's tough. Why is it tough? It's tough because we're asked to do something we're not comfortable in, right? We've been taken and put somewhere that is not our comfort zone. And we really don't want to do this, right? And often the worst thing is, we would say, even without giving it a try, we would say, okay, I don't want to do this. Okay, I'm not going to do this. But just imagine, how would this activity be perceived by, say, a 8-year-old kid or a 6-year-old kid who has been asked to draw their own portrait? They will do it and they will flaunt it, right? They will be so proud of what they have created, this masterpiece that they've created, and they'll, hang it in the wall or something. That's because as kids, we are much lesser judgmental about our own self. We are so much more compassionate to ourselves. And we're not even aware of fear, right? That's what we're talking about, awareness. We're not aware of something called fear, and hence we just do what our hearts and minds tells us to do. But as we grow older, we kind of create this imaginary central authority, who decides something is good or bad. In fact, in the world, there is no central authority to say, hey, this is good and this is bad for you. Maybe our parents tell us till we mature, but after that, it's pretty much up to us to decide what is good for us and what is not. So that leads me to sharing with you all that the most powerful words in the universe are the words that we say to ourselves, especially when no one is listening. Because that's reflection. If you are positive, it's because of those inner thoughts. If you are negative, there is a way to change that. So can we, give ourselves more and more positive, powerful words so that we are, more courageous in our own lives and careers? Another very famous quote by James Allen says, "You are today where your thoughts have brought you. You will be tomorrow where your thoughts take you." So you see that, it's always good to think ahead, think far, think about developing, think, I'm going to soon be talking about growth mindset. Do you have each of these? Do you think like this? And it's not very difficult to reframe with a growth mindset. For example, if you're an extremely positive person, you might end up saying something like, I love learning, or I'm capable of working hard, or I love synthesizing some amazing creative ideas. But each of us also have limiting beliefs, right? Few of us often say, I lack discipline, I'm very short tempered, I hesitate sharing my ideas. But these are all fixed mindsets. These are just stating the obvious. These are just stating the problems, but it's not letting you grow. And if you decide to weave in a growth mindset and put ourselves in that continuum of continuous development and improvement, we would see the world from a completely different lens. For example, you can change, you can transform your fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And instead of saying, I lack discipline, you can say, I'm working on my discipline. I am a work in progress, right? I might not be great, but I'm becoming better. You might not, be very vocal and, very vocal in sharing your ideas, but you can say that I'm growing in my confidence to share my ideas. So there is hope. There is this urge to excel, this urge to improve, which automatically makes us more courageous and takes us to the path of confidence. Just reiterating, growth mindset is about becoming aware that we can become a better versions of ourselves through learning, through training, through getting help, etc. And that gets me to sort of what I tried saying in the last few slides, saying, comfort zone where you feel you're too much in control, but the moment you're taken out of your comfort zone, you get into this fear zone. But if you can, transform that fear into a learning, it's very easy for you to get that growth mindset. You go to that growth zone, you find your purpose, you set new goals, you achieve those objectives. and ultimately you get confidence and you make your dreams a reality. So this is a very powerful image. If you go by it, we all have the potential to be what we want to be. It's just that journey of how we get there, right? We The next thing I want to talk to you about is acceptance to building courage. Again, a lot of quotes that have completely inspired me to think about this topic. One from Mayuri says, "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only accepted." And now I want to understand more so that yes. So the moment we accept that, hey, this is something I don't know, but I'm willing to improve myself. I'm willing to learn, and so that fear goes away. The first time you do scuba diving, you're like super scared. I still remember the time when I couldn't sleep even the previous night. But the next time I did it, it was like, yeah, I have done before, because the first time you do something, it's very difficult for you to accept you can do it. But the moment you create that mindset, it's very easy. And this exactly talks about that, right? Each of us have a lot of psychological triggers always playing on our mind. It can be fear, judgment, rejection. If this is your comfort zone, then it is very difficult for you to grow. But if you can think about how to be comfortable with how to make your comfort zone growth or love or happiness, this is where the true magic happens. This is where you can really see yourself transforming, growing, being more courageous. Because it takes me to one wonderful quote by Viktor Frankl, which says, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." Right? You might be amazing at something, but you're very scared to try it for the first time. And we've heard so many stories of people who have been successful, but the first time you try it, you nail it, and then there's no looking back, right? So yes, that takes me to one question for you all, which is, how many thoughts do you think we have in a given day? And I really want to hear your answer, so I will pause for a moment, but I would love to hear your answers in the chat window. How many thoughts do we have in any given day, in one single day, 24 hours? A lot. Yes, but I would love to have a few of you put a number to it so that I can quantify it in the next slide for all of us. Just get, I'll wait for a couple of more minutes, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of diverse answers. 100, okay. Interesting. Yeah, Shivam says 60,000. Yes, that's very close. We usually have anywhere between 60 to 70,000 thoughts in a given day. But what's even more interesting to know is 90% of those are the same every single day. What this means is, because we are not acting on few of these thoughts, they keep staying on in our head again and again and again. And we all have this voice of self-doubt, right? Am I good enough? It is always that the negative, we have this inherent negativity bias that always tells us, saying, no, I can't handle this. No, I'm not good enough. I am not worthy of love or belonging. And this often pushes us to say a corner, say, there is no path for growth from there. But what if, no matter what happens, no matter what life throws at you, you choose to say, I can handle it. We'll figure it out, right? You might not be perfect in it the first time you do something. But you say to yourself, I can handle it, and I'm sure you'll find a way out. You say to yourself that I am good enough. You might not be, you might not get 100% the first time you try it, but there's always scope for continual improvement. You start saying to yourself, I'm worthy of love and belonging, because unless you believe it, nobody can give that to you, right? And then think about what would you if you always tell yourself, I can handle it, I am good enough, and I am worthy of love and belonging. Think about it. And that takes me to the next stage, which is curiosity. Often it is very important for us to be curious. There's a wonderful saying which says, name it to tame it, right? In psychology, instead of running away from something that's unknown to you or something that you fear, you turn towards it, try and understand it, demystify it, put a name to it, and then see the difference for yourself. There is a very, very powerful quote which says, we suffer more in our imagination than in reality. And that's where the 65,000 thoughts that I was talking about, right? How can we understand, demystify a few fears that we have? And for us to understand the solution, we also need to understand the problem. So, about overcoming fears, you could have fear of failure, right? I don't apply. You don't apply for a role because it's outside your current level of expertise. But how about trying something different? And you never know, you might just enjoy loving it, right? So there's fear of failure. There's fear of rejection. You don't ask for promotion or the raise or the opportunity that you really, really want, or you don't reach out to a potential mentor or sponsor because you're scared, right? And then there's fear of judgment. What will others think? I don't want to share my ideas. I don't want to speak up, right? Because you're always, in that constant mindset of, well, okay, what will this person think of me? Okay, what will they think of me? No, in the first place, you're doubting yourself. Lastly, there's fear of success. Some of us want to be small and hidden, so that there are no challenges coming our way, so that we were too comfortable with what we want to do. But what would you do if you weren't afraid of any of this? Think about it, right? Get curious, because I want you to reflect, and I'm not going to wait for answers at this point in time, but I want you to reflect on what are, of the four fears that I spoke about, what are all the specific fears that are getting in your way or preventing you from expressing yourself in whichever situation it is. And ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen in that case, right? If you identify and then you say, okay, I want to apply for a job. What is the worst thing that can happen for you, right? You might not get it, you might not clear the interview, but so what? There's always scope for improvement. At least it takes out the fear out of you, right? So think about it, do this reflecting activity for yourself, figure out what your fears are, and move towards addressing them in a certain way, whatever works for you. Each of our methods are different. That takes me to our next phase, which is compassion, right? Courage and compassion are two sides of the same coin. Compassion without courage is not genuine, and you may have a compassionate thought or an impulse, but if you don't do or say anything, it's not real compassion, right? So you don't have that fear of not opening up, not speaking up, because you need to be compassionate both to people around you and to yourself. So always look to strengthen compassion and kindness in your lives. I also want to talk to you about some science. This is about the science theory, which is the science of affirmations, and apparently it is real. It says that if individuals reflect on their core values, they are less likely to experience stress in situations that might be threatening to their sense of self. What do I mean by this? When we are aware of and living consistent with our values, we are the most powerful. So what this affirmation theory boils down to say is, try to identify your core values. I have this exhaustive list given to you on, the various kind of personal core values that you can have. For you, just reflect on 3 words that best describe you. If you can take a couple of minutes to just share what are a few words that really strike with you. It'll be amazing to hear in the chat window. For me, the 3 values, when I was doing similar assignments, I realized for me the 3 core values are courage, empathy, and resilience. And these 3 values sort of define who I am and who I want to be, right? And I can also clearly remember the instances I have shown courage, where I have been empathetic, and when I have been resilient. Right? So I would love to hear from you on what are your core values. Let's see a few of them flowing in, and then I have another question for you once I hear that. It's okay. I just want. I mean, you can have 50 of them, but it doesn't help in actually saying that this is what I want to live by and stand for, and be aware and mindful about it. So it's very important that out of this 230 values, you pick up just 3 best that describe you. Okay, I hear boldness, honesty, and potential. Great, amazing. Can we have a few more? Yeah, it's an exhaustive list, but and I'm super glad that Sudmeet was about to do it so quickly. Often it takes time for us to sit back, think about what really matters. I see amazing answers coming: learning, confident, creative, passion, ambition, confidence. Amazing, amazing. So now, out of the 3, this is even tougher. Out of the 3, which one is the most essential to who you are? Think about that. We will not be doing this activity here, but think about which one of these 3 core values are the most essential to you. Sit and reflect on why do you think this is the most essential to you, and think of a couple of instances when you have practiced this value in your own life, right? It'll definitely teach us a lot about compassion. To close things off on compassion, I would like to share a quote with you, which says, "A moment of self-compassion can change your entire day, but a string of such moments can change your entire life." So find these moments of self-compassion. It's very important to be compassionate to others, but it's even more important to be compassionate to yourself. Put yourself in, say, suppose you were your best friend. How would you practice compassion? And try to inculcate a few of those values in your own life, for yourself, on yourself, right? And that gets me to the last phase of mindful action. Mindful action is I would just action is like such a it might be a small word, but it's such a powerful and heavy word. I just want to break that down into micro actions, the baby steps to big dreams, right? And this is from a study I just got. I found that there are 4 responses to fear. It's up to each of us how we how we respond to fear, right? We can go on the offensive, we can react very aggressively and completely eliminate the problem. That is like you're fighting the problem. Or you can completely avoid the problem and retreat to a safe space, and that's flighting, right? You're running away, you're flighting. Or you can just freeze the problem, where you shut down the problem by pretending like it's nothing at all. But what's the most powerful and the courageous thing to do is to face it, is to confront directly and see that, whether it's about understanding your own blind spots, whether it's about finding some vulnerabilities if you face the problem, it's by far the most best response that you can get, to fear. And successful leaders are able to recognize their fears, face them proactively, and respond with a logical course of action. So be willing to accept responsibility for everything that happens to you and decide how you want to face it, right? Put a logical step of action and follow it, execute it, and you will be amazed. There's another interesting model, which is the fog behavior model, which shows that three elements must converge at the same moment for a behavior to occur. And those three elements are motivation, ability, and triggers, right? If you get these three together, great things can happen, right? I also wanted to close this talk by saying that if you want a scientific and a logical reason on why you should be courageous, it's because courage activates the reward pathway. The brain releases dopamine, right? You feel that adrenaline rush, but it is what really would define who you are going to be, right? And as a reflection to this particular module of the mindful action, what is the smallest action that you can take right now to respond to fear? Give it a thought, self reflect, drop it in the chat window. But I want to leave you with a few key takeaways. I love this saying which says, inhale courage and exhale fear. And if we try to do that every time, every moment, every day, every month, every week, every year, we are going to get more confident about ourselves and our own lives. So the key takeaway, just summarizing all that I spoke to you about, we spoke about awareness, saying how do you build awareness of thoughts? We spoke about acceptance, about how we can accept our fears, curiosity, how it is important to get curious about your fears so that you can resolve them, compassion, practice self-compassion, relating to others, and lastly, mindful action. Take small actions so they're extremely consistent. With that, thank you so much for this opportunity. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them on my Twitter handle at Lakshya S90. And a huge thank you to